Viewers on YouTube, how you doing? What show are we on?
The Truth is Viral.
The Truth is Viral, people. So take 2 penicillins and call me in the morning.
places you don't talk about at parties. You want me on that wall. You need me on that wall.
Keep that frequency clear.
And now it's conspiracy. See, they've made that something that should not be even entertained for a minute, that powerful people might get together and have a plan. Doesn't happen. You're a kook. You're a conspiracy buff.
You're watching The Truth is Viral, the only news program on the internet trusted to deliver the truth since 2008. And now, here's your host, Mr. Bobby Powell.
Welcome back to The Truth is Viral live on YouTube. Wonder if my volumes are about right. Yeah, it might be better if I turn the microphone to, or my volume on my microphone on. Yeah, I've got this whole new setup. Folks, I want to first off thank my good friend and brother from another mother, Peter T. Santilli. He's hooked me up with some really awesome software, and I think that the new Truth is Viral Live is going to really knock your socks off. Tonight, we're going to talk about the FISA memo and the fact that Twitter has banned the account for the House Select Committee on Intelligence. And apparently, they just don't want it out there. It's a really bad situation that we find ourselves in now, guys. And I'm going to have you do something for me. And now that the House has actually approved the memo for release to the American people, it's going to go to Donald Trump's desk, where it will sit until he says either yay or nay. And I don't think that he's going to say nay, but tell you what he is going to do. I think he's going to wait until after the State of the Union, so that it doesn't distract from what he's doing. And I think that's a pretty good idea. We've waited this long, we might as well wait another day, right? So we've had members of Congress come out and talk about this memo, and it's really very disturbing. And I think we should take a look at some of what these guys had to say, like right now.
This will not end just with firings. I believe there are people who will go to jail. I was very persuaded by the evidence, and it also became clear to me why Chuck Grassley and Lindsey Graham felt it so important to refer this matter for criminal prosecution. You don't get to try to undermine our country, undermine our elections, and then simply get fired. So I think there will be criminal implications here, and we have to underscore the point that you and Jim Jordan just made. Every single Democrat on the Intelligence Committee voted against even allowing other members of Congress to see this information. So you know they're going to fight against release to the American people. What are the Democrats so afraid of? Why don't they want the American people to know the truth about what was going on with the government, how that impacted the president, his transition, his campaign? And it just seems interesting to me that Democrats don't want us to know what the entire basis was in the first place for the Mueller probe. They want to drag this out through the midterm elections to try to embarrass this president and distract this Congress from the critical work we've got to do to save this great country.
I'm reading it, and it's a very succinct, straightforward memo. And there were a couple times as I'm reading this thing where I'm just like shaking my head. You've got to be kidding me. I can't believe they did that. So I think it's something that is really significant. I think that the American people need to see it. There's growing support in the House to make this public so that the American people can see. And here's the thing. The memo's done in such a way where you can easily make it public. There aren't, it's classified top secret, but there aren't sources and methods here.
The American people need to see this. We want the journalists in this great country to see this, but mostly we want the American people to understand what the FBI did, how wrong it was. And again, we're not allowed to talk about it, but the last point Ed made is right on target. The committee can meet today, can meet tomorrow. If a majority of the committee votes to release this, it goes to the White House. The White House can say thumbs up or thumbs down. My guess is they're going to say thumbs up. And then it's out there, and the American people can see what took place at the highest levels of our FBI, at the highest levels of the Justice Department. That should not happen.
I am as certain as ever that the claims we have been making are accurate claims, that there is intelligence information that backs it up, and that there has been a real attempt to undermine this president. And and it has come from the scariest of places. Some of the very people we've been talking about will be exposed, and the key reason that all Americans need to see this memo is that it names names. It says who was involved with who, how different actors and characters we've heard about interacted with one another, and that is the type of information that we need all Americans to see immediately.
Today, I had the opportunity to go into a confidential setting to make sure that what we can do is understand better what actually took place. And I'm here to tell all of America tonight that I am shocked to read exactly what has taken place. I would think that it would never happen in a country that loves freedom and democracy like this country. It is time that we become transparent in all of this, and I am calling on our leadership to make this available so that all Americans can judge for themselves.
Top officials should be impeached, which means they can't hold another government position. But I suspect this intel document is going to reveal multiple felonies by high-ranking officials at the FBI and the Department of Justice. There's a federal felony statute. It's called deprivation of rights under color of law. And it says that a government official cannot use their position of power to deprive somebody of their constitutional rights. Here, it's the constitutional right to privacy as upheld by the Supreme Court. So if the FBI and the DOJ goes into a federal judge using a fake false document to obtain a warrant to spy, that's a violation. It's a felony. It's 10 years behind bars. People ought to be prosecuted for that.
I think they call this a constitutional crisis, folks, and we sure have that going on. But before we continue with the show, I just want to take a minute and thank all of you. It's been a long time since I've been live. You know, my wife and my mom dying so soon after each other, it just threw me for a loop. It took me a long time to get back to even feeling like a human again, much less getting back to work. But I am back to work. Thank you, Tony Stark. God bless you, brother. Cindy Delk, thank you, sweetheart. I'm looking at my messages over here. Murrow69, my kid's future, make America legit again, politically incorrect. Hopefully this destroys the Demo Rats party. Yes, it will. Folks, it is going to do exactly that. And, you know, going over to Twitter, let's take a look at what's going on. For example, Twitter has suspended the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence Twitter account. Lee Zeldin, the congressman, read the classified document, and he's calling for its public release. The public must have transparency. Representative Andy Biggs, I viewed this classified document tonight. I am outraged by what I read, he says. The American people deserve to know what happened. Stephen King says, I have read the memo. The sickening reality has set in. I no longer hold out hope that there is an innocent explanation for the information that the public has seen. Even the ACLU said that the memo should be published, and boy, did they take a ragging on from their followers on that one. It was really something to watch, and they really do not want this memo out there because, like my man said, it is going to destroy the Democratic Party, and several people are going to prison. Okay, I really want to see Andy McCabe perp walked. I want to see Hillary Clinton perp walked. I want to see James Comey perp walked. Mr. Strzok, Peter Strzok, and his girlfriend Lisa Page. They can go ahead and link them together. Take them to jail. I am sick and damn tired of these criminals getting away with it. Thank God for President Trump. And thank God for QAnon. Yeah, we're going to talk about some QAnon in a little bit because he's really been entertaining us, folks. And yeah, he's something else. Let me cue up this next little bit. Adam Schiff, you know, the ranking Democrat on the House Permanent Select Committee for Intelligence, he's really got his panties in a twist. Check this out.
Finally, I moved that if the majority was going to release their memoranda publicly, that they release the minority views as well, that they be released jointly. And the majority, on a party line basis, voted against both memoranda being released to the public. They then took up their own memoranda and voted it out to make public. We had a separate vote on the minority memoranda, and the majority voted against allowing the public to see the minority memoranda. The release the memo crowd apparently doesn't want to release the memo now. The most they would do is say that at some indeterminate point, a week or so from now, they would consider whether to release the minority memo. We raised, of course, the transparently political objective behind this, which is to allow the majority to set a certain narrative for a week or so before they released a full statement of the facts from the minority. But nonetheless, this is where we are. We had votes today to politicize the intelligence process, to prohibit the FBI and the Department of Justice from expressing their concerns to our committee and to the House, and to selectively release to the public only the majority's distorted memo without the full facts. A very sad day, I think, in the history of this committee. As I said to my committee colleagues during this hearing, sadly, we can fully expect that the President of the United States will not put the national interest over his own personal interest. But it is a sad day indeed when that is also true of our own committee, because today this committee voted to put the President's personal interest, perhaps their own political interest, above the national interest, in denying themselves even the ability to hear from the Department and the FBI. And that is, I think, a deeply regrettable state of affairs. But it does show how, in my view, when you have a deeply flawed person in the Oval Office, that flaw can infect the whole of government. And today, tragically, it infected our committee. And at this point,
shut up. If there are any deeply flawed people, they're in the Democratic leadership. All the people that supported Hillary Clinton and started this false Russia narrative, I hope they all go to jail. And according to Q, Adam Schiff is an outright traitor. A traitor. It's... I have never seen anything like this in my entire life. I was just a kid when Watergate was going on, and I saw what was going on. It was really bad. A lot of people were upset that they thought that was a constitutional crisis. I mean, that was just a burglary. Okay, here we have Democrats, high-ranking Democrats in both Congress and the Department of Justice and the FBI, who not only ran interference for Hillary Clinton, absolving her of the Benghazi scandal, her email scandal, and every other scandal that she's had. And this one guy, FBI guy, Peter Strzok, he was right in the middle of it. Of course, I'm not telling you anything that you don't already know if you've been paying attention to the news. But I've never in my life seen political malfeasance like this. There's a thing called a social contract, folks, and that is where we as a people, we the people of the United States, elect our representatives and allow them to appoint people that will run various bureaucratic bureaus and run our law enforcement, run immigration, and so forth and so on. And when we elect them, we expect them to discharge their duties with dignity, honor, and integrity. We're not getting that. And we demand it. I want to know how Nancy Pelosi or Maxine Waters can go to Congress and earn $175,000 a year, and yet Nancy Pelosi is worth $100 million. How does that happen? Maxine Waters lives in a $4 million house. Doesn't even live in her district. How does she keep getting elected? Same way that Bernie Sanders was cheated out of the Democratic nomination. The system's rigged. And it has been for a long time. I couldn't even tell you how long it's been going on. I remember the first president, of course I wasn't alive at the time, but I remember the first president who warned us that this could happen. It was Dwight D. Eisenhower. He said that, power, we've got to beware of the power of the military-industrial complex. And it's not just the military-industrial complex, it's the military-industrial and political complex. They start wars and profit off wars. Of course, we all know that. But I bet you didn't know this. During the first Gulf War, Richard Cheney was Secretary of Defense. After the first Gulf War ended, he went back into the private sector. He started a little company called Halliburton. Come time for the second Gulf War, Dick Cheney is the Vice President of the United States. A lot of people think that he was actually running the show. I don't know. George Bush is just not bright enough, I don't think, to pull off a scam of that magnitude. But in any case, Dick Cheney's stock in Halliburton went up over 4,000%, while the United States troops were fighting and dying in Iraq. To give you just a little idea of how corrupt Dick Cheney was, how corrupt Halliburton was, the way they counted meals in order to charge the United States government, the way Halliburton counted meals to decide how much to charge the government, they counted them by the styrofoam trays that the meals were served on. Well, it's the desert, so the soldiers usually took 2 of the trays and put one on top of the other to keep the sand out of their food, right? Well, each tray, Halliburton charged the United States government $52. $52 per disposable tray of food for every meal for every soldier. That's a lot of cash. And it all went into Dick Cheney's pocket. These guys are bad news, folks. They're really bad news, and we just can't let them get away with it. So let's take a look at what Twitter's doing right now. Here's President Trump. This is a little bit of cue here. 98% of Democrats have no idea about the executive order that President Trump signed last month. Human Rights Info is going to make heads explode. It's not only going to make heads explode, it's going to make people go to jail. Oh, I love this one. Oh, yeah, I love this one right here. Why would the Democrats have Maxine Waters conduct the follow-up to the State of the Union address? I don't know why. I don't really care. But you can join me right here tomorrow night for the State of the Union, and afterwards we're going to go watch Maxine Waters. I'm going to have a great big old bucket of popcorn. And we're going to make fun at her. We're going to hoot and we're going to holler. And it's just going to be a blast because, oh my gosh, folks, we're finally seeing some justice. Let's see. What more do we have from Q? Oh, yeah. Nation on alert. This is a Q post from just tonight. Nation on alert. Firing Rod Rosenstein equals blocking Mueller. Firing Rod Rosenstein equals the setup to firing Mueller. And firing Rod Rosenstein is the red line, Q says. And, yeah, we're going to see some fireworks in the next few months. But don't expect it to come to a crashing end altogether. Don't expect to see everybody rounded up and perp walked all at the same time, because just as the Russian collusion investigation has taken a year, more than a year so far, folks, I'm here to tell you, this one's going to take a while too. And as soon as I can get back to My Facebook, where did it go? Where did Facebook go? Facebook, there we go. Okay, got it. Okay, we're going to take a look at look at my timeline for today, because I've set all this stuff up, and you're just going to love it. It's great stuff. God, my tab just crashed. That's what it said. Look, it says my tab just crashed. Report this tab. Oh, okay. Well, let's try restoring it. Okay, come on, honey. There we go. That's a good baby. Okay, I like it when technology cooperates with me. Oh, you got to check this out. Go to the Truth is Viral's Facebook page after the stream's over, because I want you to check out this story from Tim Brown on Freedom Outpost. The reporter that put fear into the establishment returns. Ben Swann is coming back as an investigative journalist, and I love Ben Swann. He was doing great stuff until he got into Pizzagate, and they kind of shut him down. They shut him down hard. He had to delete all of his social media accounts, and he was back to doing local news in Ohio, I think it was, for the longest time. Okay, but now here is here's a story that I want to share with you. It's coming from True Pundit. Okay, now I trust True Pundit. Why do I trust True Pundit? Because I've been reading them religiously for a year. And they've had it right all along. And they've had it right long before a lot of other people. Long before even Sarah Carter came on board with John Hannity at Fox. True Pundit was getting it right. Now, the title of this story is The Inspector General Probes Large Cash Prizes Handed Out to Anti-Trump FBI Agents. So why don't we pull that up and take a look at it. Okay, here we go. Inspector General probes large cash prizes handed out to anti-Trump FBI agents. You know, folks, it's one thing to betray your country for a political ideal. I can almost understand that. What I cannot understand is betraying your country for money. Benedict Arnold has got nothing on these people. Nothing. But let's take a look at what this article says. Excuse me. Potentially illicit private performance bonuses or political payoffs between $30,000 and upwards of $50,000, possibly awarded to high-ranking FBI agents, have caught the eye of the Inspector General, according to law enforcement sources. These are your tax dollars at work at the FBI. The two levels for cash rewards include the Meritorious Award and Distinguished Rank Award, sources said. Recipients receive a large cash prize of 20% of their base pay for meritorious and a cash prize of 35% of their salary for distinguished level awards. How many cash awards were handed out during the FBI's hierarchy? No one truly knows, because the laws that govern the award system allow the recipients to remain private. But according to documents obtained by True Pundit, we do know that FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe was one recipient of the program. McCabe received an approximate $59,000 award from then FBI Director Robert Mueller prior to his retirement from the FBI. And folks, if Fox News is to believe, and I believe them more than I do the other guys, I really do. But if Fox News is to be believed, Andrew McCabe did not resign. He did not take a vacation. He was sacked. He was fired right after Christopher Wray, the FBI director, read the memo, the FISA memo, and saw how damaging it was to the FBI. And hopefully Rod Rosenstein is next. So, well, ironically, Mueller is now investigating McCabe's role in Trump-Russia and the Russian-Trump dossier as U.S. Special Counsel. Sounds like another conflict of interest. This is a significant amount of money for any FBI employee, the source says. We need to know who's been getting these awards and why and how many were under the table. FBI sources have long suspected preferential treatment of high-ranking FBI agents, especially those in favor with pro-Hillary McCabe, that source said. Some agents believe the awards have been used as political payoffs inside the Bureau. Other agents said rewards like extra time off, extended off-the-book vacation time, and other rewards may have been employed to reward agents for Democratic-linked favors and job promotions, too, within the FBI ranks. Betraying your country for money. I don't believe it. I mean, I believe it, but I don't believe it. How can anybody be so low? How could anybody be so despicable? Okay, I'm going to take just a second out to tell you what the purpose of this show is. Okay, we know that they don't want the memo released, and there's pressure on President Trump to not release it. Well, the people of the United States have shown over the past year that they can apply pressure themselves. So get yourself a piece of paper and write down this number. It's 202-456-1111. I want you to light up the White House switchboards and tell them that you want President Trump to make sure that he releases the memo. He's got to approve it, or if he waits 5 days and does nothing, it's automatically approved. This is fun stuff. And get a piece of paper, on that same piece of paper, I guess, if you want to call in and voice your opinion about what's going on, you can call 218-548-7742 and enter the code 2018, and you can join in tonight's discussion. Let's see, what else we got? Oh, yeah. I want to just take a second and give a shout out to my really dear friend Lisa Levy. Lisa's a young lady that I've known since MySpace days, and she was just an aspiring singer back then, but she's actually made a name for herself. She's very big in Canada, and she's gone on tour with the Trans-Siberian Orchestra and Yanni. She was with Yanni in Egypt not too long ago. But I want to share this with you. It's so cute. You're going to love it. This was taken 3 years ago. This is a little video of my grandson, Connor. Okay, when I first introduced him to Lisa Levy. You got to check this out.
Hey, little monkey butt. I'm going to introduce you to some good music. Okay?
He likes watching Fox News too. He's a real pal, that one. Come on, baby, dance. Don't you just love that? It's so sweet. Oh yeah, folks, the reason I do this, I could retire. I mean, I don't have to do any of this, but I've got to think about my family. I've got to think about my children and my grandchildren, and I just absolutely cannot leave them with a mess the way our parents left it. You know, and I can't really blame our parents. I can't really blame baby boomers' parents, because they had no idea the level of corruption that there was in the United States government. They trusted their government blindly, and for a while it worked. Not anymore. We can't trust our government blindly. We got to keep on top of them. We got to be writing letters. We got to be making phone calls. And don't send them emails. The email will just go right into the electronic circular file 13. If you want to write a letter to your congressman, you got to do it on paper. They like that. And so, yeah, the call-in number tonight is 218-548-7742 and enter the code 2018. And I'll be taking your calls. Let me look at some of these comments that we've got on YouTube Live. Drain the swamp. Oh yeah, the Podestas, they've got to go to jail too, those little perverts. You know, Q posted something a while ago, says the people that know can't sleep at night. And they can't. Nobody with a conscience would be able to sleep at night knowing what they know. And I'm just thankful to the Lord that we've got what they call white hats. See, I've always said it. I have always said it. And people rag on me. They call me a loyalist, or I don't know, just all kinds of different names. But I truly believe that our government is the finest form of government the world has ever seen. But John Adams said, our founding father John Adams said, that it was intended to be run by a moral and religious people that was wholly unsuited to the government of any other. And morality, out the window. Religion, it's under attack. And it's not just Christians either. It's mostly Christians. But just about any kind of religious display is not allowed anymore, and that's really too bad. But we've got to fight, and we gotta pay attention to what's going on. Okay, we can't just live our lives on cruise control anymore. We have to take an active part in our government. Remember a couple of years ago when I followed my former representative, Dr. Dan Benishek, from Alpena to Washington, D.C., confronted him in his office. Well, I'd been after him for 3 years to tell me why he kept on voting for the National Defense Authorization Act, even though the state of Michigan, by a unanimous vote in both the House of Representatives and the Michigan Senate, declared that the National Defense Authorization Act, sections 1021 and 1022, were nullified. And 23 other states did that too. Okay, so it wasn't just a fluke that Michigan did it. Half the country did it, because the National Defense Authorization Act allowed the federal government to send the Army to arrest and detain indefinitely any person without a charge, and hold them again indefinitely, not tell their parents or family where they are, and even rendition them to foreign shores where they might be, or probably would be, tortured. So I kept after Dr. Dan Benishek, and when I went to his office in Washington, D.C., I promised his aid. See, he ran in the back of his office. He sent his aide out to say that he wasn't there, but I knew he was there because I followed him there from the Netanyahu speech. But he wouldn't talk to me. But I did promise his aide that I would be at every truck stop, whistle stop tour that he went on. Every time he went to a beauty parlor to smooze with the blue-haired old ladies, I would be there, and I would be asking him that question. Well, about 3 months later, he decided that he'd had enough. He didn't want to run again. So that opened the seat up to my new representative in the Michigan 1st District. His name is General Jack Bergman, and he seems to be a really nice guy. And he's definitely not a coward or a traitor. Oh, man. I'll come back to that later. But yeah, don't forget to call in 218-548-7742 and enter the code 2018 this year, and you can join in the conversation. We'll be taking your phone calls in just a minute. Going back to the comments on YouTube, say, I hope they all go to get Mo. Yes, brothers and sisters, I hope they do. Pile of Schiff. Adam Schiff is definitely a traitor, Billy Yates says. Cynthia Dog says he was just watching that. He looks very flushed, talking about Adam Schiff trying to save his butt. He sure is. And my kid's future says race war. I don't think so. I hope not. As long as we're on that subject, let's go to that. Okay. Black pride. Everybody's yeah, go for it. Brown pride. Viva la raza. Yeah, get down. White pride. You're a racist. Okay, let me give you my hint on my take on that. Pride is something that you earn. I was born with my skin color. A black person is born with their skin color. A Latina is born with their skin color. You didn't earn that. You can't be proud of that. Be proud of your accomplishments. Join the military. I'm proud of my service in the Marine Corps. That's something I can be proud of. When they pinned that EGL on my cover, that was a proud day. I was proud. My mom was proud. Everybody was proud. That's something that you can be proud of. You know, go out and spend some time with your kids. Teach them how to ride a bike. Be proud of that. Be proud of your kids as they grow. Be proud of their accomplishments. And be thankful if you can keep them off a stripper pole or out of jail. But that's another place where you've got to, really pay attention is your kids. You can't just sit them down in front of the TV or in front of the computer and let them cruise along through life. Because, folks, you know why they call TV programming? Because that's exactly what it is. TV and the internet teaches your children. And they might not always be learning the things that you would want them to learn. So you have to be active in their development and teach them the things that you need them to know. Teach them how to hunt, how to fish, how to take care of themselves. They don't even teach you how to balance a checkbook in high school anymore. All they do is teach you how to take a test. And that's no good. Anybody can take a test. A monkey can take a test. Oh, Chris Mason says, I crapped McCabe. He farted and smelled the Mueller and the Schiffers. Death by chocolate or guillotine. I'm going for hanging these treasonous bastards. How about that? Okay, but again, as I've always said, due process is a right that every American is entitled to. Okay, before we start stringing them up, they've got to be tried and found guilty of treason, and then they can be punished. Okay, and I'll bet that Donald Trump could whack a massive hole in the national debt if he would create these executions as a pay-per-view event. I know I'd pay to see it. And it's odd because God tells us we got to pray for our enemies. And I do. I pray that they'll do the right thing. But at a certain point, there's got to come a time when you've just got to stand up and say, enough. Okay, I've turned another cheek. I don't have any more cheeks to turn. There comes a point when people have proven that they are irredeemable. When you just can't trust them to repent and change their ways. I mean, these guys that are in in Washington, D.C. right now, Andrew McCabe and Jim Comey, Peter Strzok, and that whole lot, the Podestas, they are evil incarnate. You know, just look at the Podestas, for example. These guys traffic in children. It's true. I mean, they say it's a conspiracy theory, and maybe parts of it are. But I've been to the FBI website. I've seen the logos and the insignia of child porn that they've got on the FBI website, and it's all over Comet Pizza's website. It's all over James Alefantis's private Instagram account. It was in the emails that were stolen by Seth Rich. That's why I've got Seth capitalized in release the memo down there. We cannot forget this man because he gave his life to take those emails from the Democratic National Committee and from the Podestas, and they showed us how evil and vile these people are, and the Obamas are involved in it too. I mean, really, tell me, who sends to Chicago for $69,000 worth of hot dogs and pizza? They you know, cheese pizza, CP. That's their code for child porn. And it really hurts my heart to know that there are children out there right now that are suffering. And we've got to put an end to that. And that's what Trump's executive order he wrote last month did. It froze all the assets of people that were involved in that kind of stuff. And they can't do anything now. There's a lot of things that are going on that have been kept secret from us. Okay, now here we go. Okay, we've got no callers online right now. If you want to call and talk and tell me what you're thinking, right now call 218-548-7742 and enter the code 2018, and I will be happy to hook you up. Let me make sure that I get in there myself, because the way this works, it's really weird. I've got to call in myself.
Welcome. This service is provided by freeconferencepro.com.
That's what you'll hear.
Please enter your passcode followed by the pound sign.
My passcode. Can't tell you what it is.
That is not a valid passcode. Please re-enter your passcode now, followed by the pound sign. Please enter your passcode followed by the pound sign.
And sometimes I just hate computers.
There are 1 callers already on the conference. At any time, press *4 for conference instructions.
Ding. Okay, now I need to mute that guy, because that's my other call. I'm just learning this new software. I want to thank my friend Pete Santilli again. I was trying to use a portion of the software that allows me to live stream to multiple platforms all at once. YouTube Live, Facebook Live, Periscope, and all these others. But there were too many of them, and I couldn't start the stream on time. And I did promise I was going to be going on the air at midnight, so I just decided to go on YouTube Live and share the link manually. That's why you guys had to sit and wait for 5 minutes. All right. The king is coming. Hoorah! Just found this. Amen, brother. Yeah. I'll tell you, Marines are the most interesting group of people that I've ever met. I've known Marines that are Christians, like me, and I've known Marines that are not. And it's a brotherhood. It really is. It's some things transcend politics. Some things transcend religion. And when you get there, and you've got people that you know have your back, that would give their life to save yours, that's something very special. And I thank God that he allowed me to become a United States Marine. Oh, look, I was just cruising the Twitter feed again. Look at this. Look what happens to be there. Nope, I didn't want you to do that. There we go. Look at that. Marines raising the flag at Iwo Jima. Truth belongs with the people. Q. Great Awakening. Let's take a look at some of these Q posts, as long as we're here on 8chan. Okay, let's find the newer ones. Okay, yep, here's the one tonight. Okay, Q starts off, narrative shift. Nation on alert, firing Rod Rosenstein equals blocking Mueller. Firing Rod Rosenstein equals a setup to firing Mueller. And firing Rod Rosenstein is the red line. What was the Senate conference vote in reference to Rod Rosenstein? Why did he beg Representative Ryan to block the FISA memo from congressional review or further advancement? There were 7 congressional members and 3 senators and 2 former Obama senior officials and 4 outside contractors with top sensitive level clearance and Schiff. And it's mandatory for admission, but how is that possible? Say, we see you. Q says, Special Agent Andrew McCabe stood tall over the last 8 months when small people were trying to tear down an institution we all depend on. He served with distinction for 2 decades. I wish Andy well. 187. Oh my gosh, this is the first time I've been reading this, folks. You know, 187 is the code for death, murder. I certainly don't wish that on anybody. Even scumbags like Andrew McCabe deserve due process. But Q continues, I also wish continued strength for the rest of the FBI. Oh, I see what this is. This is Q's tweet translation of JC. James Comey. Scumbag. Yeah, let's go through this one more time with the translations. James Comey tweeted, Special Agent Andrew McCabe stood tall over the last 8 months. Q says, do not talk. When small people, that's us, were trying to tear down an institution we all depend on, our government, he served with distinction for over 2 decades. That means they owned him and his family. Comey further says, I wish Andy well. Q says that's the 187. Comey says, I also wish continued strength for the rest of the FBI, a general threat to the others in the FBI. America needs you. He says that's a code to activate sleeper cells. Then he writes Apache. Not quite sure what that means. And that's, you know, folks, these Q posts take a lot of reading and talking about, but there are others much more qualified than I am to do that. But here's something I did see, and I didn't come up with this next one myself, but I did do the research, and I did find out that this is absolutely true. Okay, I took this photograph from the president's own Twitter feed, and I queried the document's info, and there is no way that this could have been faked. The title, or the file name for this photograph, which was uploaded by President Trump or somebody with admin privileges on his account, starts off with "Do It Q." So that tells me one thing. It tells me that this Q is legit. President Trump is in on it, and he's working hard to restore our republic. And hopefully he will. Okay, Jesus is your friend, says he doesn't have a clue as to what's going on. Can I bring him up to date, please? Yeah, I'll go over it real quick with you one time. The House Select Committee, or House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, had their Twitter account blocked in advance of the release of this memo. Now, I know for a fact that this is the correct username on Twitter, because I've seen our representatives in Congress tweet to it and reference it. It's at HPSCI, and it has been suspended by Twitter. I guess they think that they can stop the memo from coming out, but they can't. President Trump will tweet it out, or he might he might surprise us all and tomorrow night read it at the State of the Union. Wouldn't that be a hoot? Definitely got to join The Truth is Viral tomorrow, folks. We're going to have a big old bucket of popcorn, and we're going to watch the State of the Union together, and then we'll watch Maxine Waters' response to it. That is going to be so funny. That woman doesn't even know what planet she's on. She really doesn't. And oh, look what the next thing down there was. Come on back. Come on back. Where is it? Where is it? Come on. I had you there just a second ago. Oh, here we are. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Yeah, here we go. Got it. I wonder why we're so obsessed with trying to find intelligent life on other planets when we can't even find intelligent life here. You know, this actually might be an opportunity for the deep state to roll out that fake alien invasion that everybody's been talking about for a while. You know, they actually had a plan. It was never implemented, obviously, but there was a plan in Hillary Clinton's campaign that it looked like she was going to lose. They were going to pull the alien invasion card, and nobody can save us from the aliens but Hillary Clinton. But that plan never was activated. But to understand that they actually had a plan, that it was written down by somebody, okay, you know, that these things are going to happen, and that's what they call the Great Deception, friends. These deep state folks, the Rothschilds and the families that really control this planet, don't want to lose that control, and they cannot rule this planet while the United States remains intact. And I think that we're going to, for all the jocularity and everything that I've been projecting so far, you've got to also realize that we're on the brink of war with North Korea. And North Korea and Iran, their nuclear programs are intermixed, and there's a lot of evidence pointing towards uranium one, that the 20% of our uranium that Hillary Clinton sold to the Russians eventually made its way to Iran and North Korea, and they kind of split it. I wonder if they sent it on the same plane with the $400 million in cash. You ever seen $400 million in cash? That's a lot. But they can take the United States out in a millisecond with just a couple of EMP bombs. They don't even have to hit any cities. EMPs are nuclear weapons that are detonated in the atmosphere about 150 miles above the United States. And when they're detonated, an electromagnetic pulse goes down towards everything within the line of sight. Every microchip will fry. Every single gas station will stop pumping gas. The lights go out. No medical care, no water being pumped, no food deliveries to your grocery stores. And I've had CIA spy Reza Khalili and Dr. Jim Garrell, he was also a CIA spy, on the show. And you know, they've told me that up to 90% of the population would die within a year from hunger, from disease, and starvation. And it's really a frightening prospect. And if I were an enemy of the United States, that's exactly how I would do it. Because once our electrical grid is out, we can't, what's the word? There's a phrase for it. Just in time. Okay, you know, like Walmart, okay, they order goods daily. Okay, and they always keep like a 3-day supply of stuff on the shelves, and this goes for grocery stores and everything else. But to make sure everything is fresh, they got to keep ordering it daily. So when they can't order it daily, when there are no more trucks coming in 3 days, all that stuff's going to be gone. And we won't be able to do much of anything. So if you don't know how to hunt, you don't know how to fish, if you don't have weapons to protect yourselves and your family, enough ammo to keep you going for a while, you could be hurting. So, you know, get on those things. You know, prepare. I'm not saying that it's going to happen in a month. I'm not saying that it's going to happen in a year. But I am saying that I do believe that it's going to happen at some point. Because if I was an enemy of the United States, that's exactly how I would do it. You don't need a big army. You don't need occupation forces. All you need to do is take the electricity away. And all of a sudden, 330 million people are living in the 1800s without the infrastructure to support them. The cities are going to become nightmares. So I'm glad I live so far away from a city. I've already spoken to our county fathers and local sheriff and told them, you know, what's going to go on. And they sat there for 45 minutes and they were paying attention, almost enraptured with the stuff that I was telling them. And hopefully they've taken my words to heart and have started to a plan to make our county self-sufficient. And that's what you should do too. Go to your local government. Your county is probably the best level, and you know, ask them what plans that they have if the power goes out for a couple of weeks. You know, when I lived in South Carolina, we had an ice storm. Ice storms are practically unheard of in South Carolina, but for 3 weeks we had no power. We had to drive 50 miles to get a loaf of bread or a gallon of milk. If that had been an electromagnetic pulse that took out that power, well, you couldn't drive far enough. As a matter of fact, you couldn't drive at all because any car made after 1985 won't drive at all because they've got computer chips in them. Computer chips will fry after an electromagnetic pulse. Let's go back on to over here for our comments on YouTube. None of your business says there's a 3-day supply. That's right. There's a 3-day supply of food in our grocery stores. Douglas C. says liberal cities will have hordes of liberal zombies killing each other. Yeah, it's true. And, it's kind of funny that the CDC put out guidance on how to survive a zombie apocalypse. They said that they were in jest, but not really. Politically Incorrect says he'd love to see food stamps not go out. Well, food stamps aren't going to do you any good if there's no food to buy. No, you need to have trade goods. A really good trading good is alcohol. Drinking alcohol. So keep some spare bottles of vodka and rum, tequila, whatnot. Not even if you don't drink, just keep them for trading. Coffee is going to be worth its weight in gold. I've got a couple of bins of coffee, and other things, and got plenty of ammo, got plenty of guns. I got no problem there. But I'll tell you what, it's my most fervent prayer that I go to my grave without ever having harmed another human being. I could live the rest of my life a happy man if that never happens. Q Universe says, let's not give Kimmy any ideas, but he does. I'm not telling him anything he doesn't already know. I'm not telling him anything that the United States government doesn't already know. The Electromagnetic Pulse Commission with my friend Reza Khalili and Dr. Peter Vincent Pry, they're on the congressional committee that tells Congress about these things, but unfortunately they haven't met with a lot of acceptance. They have been trying to get money from Congress to upgrade our electrical grid so that it is not so vulnerable to an electromagnetic pulse. But Congress doesn't care so much for that. They just don't care at all. This is good. Nancy Pelosi. The GOP is committing a cover-up. Did you see what she said the other day? She said that Donald Trump's immigration plan was a plan to make America white again. This woman is so disgusting. They just all are. And I really don't see any hope for them. I'm hoping. I read a post the other day. There are more than 13,000 sealed indictments ready to go. 13,000 sealed indictments filed since the end of November. In a normal year, there may be 1,000 sealed indictments over the course of the whole year. But in just the last few months, we've had 13,000 plus sealed indictments ready to go. And it's going to be glorious. Let me find this one thing I wanted to show you. Yeah, here it is. And this is a promise given to us in the Bible. Luke 8:17. There is nothing hidden that will not be disclosed, and nothing concealed that will not be known or brought out into the open. And that's true, whether it's here on earth or on Judgment Day. God knows your heart. He knows every thought that you think. There's nothing hidden from him. Pelosi and the others and You know, a lot of them make a big deal of the fact that they're Catholic. Well, that's not going to save you from hell. You can't just go to Sunday on church and say a Hail Mary and eat a cracker and think that your sins are forgiven, because they're not. You can't just go to church on Sunday and then sin all week. It doesn't work like that. You can lose your salvation. A lot of people think that once you're saved, you're always saved. It's not true. Once you know the truth, you've got a special burden, or a special responsibility to live your life the way that our King would want you to live it, and to share that news with other people, to save lives and win souls for Jesus Christ. That is exactly my motto. That's what I'm doing. That's my whole intent. It's why I started The Truth is Viral. Started getting serious with it anyway. I started it in 2008 as a form of therapy to recover from an accident, right? I was just writing it then, but in 2012, I had to get serious with it because my daughter died. And she had just come to live with me after living with her mother for her entire life. She lived with me for a couple of years. And I tried to tell her several times about salvation that's freely offered by Christ. And she'd always look at me and she'd say, "Oh, Daddy, you know I don't believe in that." I always thought that I had plenty of time, right? I had plenty of time to bring her to Christ, and I could not have been more wrong. She died of a heart attack at 24 years of age. Folks, we're not guaranteed another minute, not another breath, none of us. I could keel over from a heart attack right now. Watching me, you know, you could die, heaven forbid. Or, you know, one of your children, or your mom and dad. We can't put it off anymore. So I brought her ashes home from South Carolina, and I raised them up to the sky, and I swore to her. I swore to Almighty God that never again would I fail to tell somebody about Jesus Christ because I was afraid of being ridiculed, or afraid of pushing them away. You got to try. If you've got family members that aren't believers, I want you to talk to them tomorrow. And you don't have to be a preacher to do it. I'm certainly not. I've got a pretty good lay understanding of the Bible, but I'm not a preacher. But I do know that God is king, and I do know that he exists because he's shown himself to exist in my life. I'm going to tell you something I've never told anybody else before. A miracle, a literal miracle that happened to me personally. I was 14 years old, and I stole my mom's car. I didn't steal it mean, I just wanted to joyride a little bit, right? Well, I was going down this dirt road, and I had this plan of doing a Dukes of Hazzard sliding turn, right, at the end of this road. Well, I'm going along at about 45, and the station wagon that I'm in is a station wagon. Of course, it was my mom's car. It was a station wagon. What do you want? It moved laterally off the road and into the ditch where there were a bunch of tree saplings about that big around. Slowed the car down, totaled it, but it slowed it down slow enough, or easily enough that I didn't get hurt. And the moment that I came to a stop, I saw two Mormon missionaries coming around that same turn. Had God not moved my car physically out of the way, I would have killed them both. Now, I knew these guys. They were the guys that introduced me into the Mormon church. I didn't stay in the Mormon church, but I learned about it and dabbled in it for a while. But, you know, these were my friends. And I had a Bible in the passenger seat of the front seat. And as the car settled into the muck of the ditch, if you've ever been to Florida and seen these ditches, they're all filled with brackish water, and some of them are bigger than others, but the car sunk about 3 feet into the water, and my Bible was down in the bottom, completely covered in water. It was in the footwell of the passenger seat. And when the wrecker came to pull the car out, all the water drained out of the car. And went to reach for my Bible, this one, right here. Absolutely no water damage. None. So yes, I am positive that there is a God in heaven. I am positive that he has influenced my life. And I'm not going to shut up about it. The devil has really hit me hard. I guess he's afraid of me. He should be. I imagine him every morning when my feet hit the floor, the devil goes, "Oh shit, he's up." And yeah, that's the way we've got to live our lives, folks. We've got to live them fully. You know, spend time with our friends, spend time with our children, spend time with our family, and whenever possible, share the gospel with them, because, like I said, none of us are guaranteed another breath. Not a single one. So nobody's calling in at 218-548-7742. I was hoping to get your opinions, but I guess maybe another night. So oh yeah, with the blue blood moon from The King Is Coming, he just reminded me that's going to be the day after tomorrow, the day after the State of the Union, Wednesday night. I think I might go live, actually, because I live right on the eastern shore of Lake Huron, no, the western shore of Lake Huron, the eastern coast of Michigan. And when the moon comes up, these blood moons, super moons, it's huge and it's beautiful. And we're supposed to have pretty decent skies tomorrow night, so maybe I can go live and share that with you. But yeah, to recap what we had tonight, the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence has been deleted from Twitter. Their account has been suspended. And that's bad news, folks. They don't want this memo out. So we better hope that President Trump can trump it, can trump their efforts. And actually, I don't even think we have to hope. I think it's just a foregone conclusion, because if there's anything President Trump has been doing ever since he has been elected, it's been winning. Yeah. And he's not a perfect guy. I don't think any of us can claim to be a perfect guy, but that's okay. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be forgiven. And I think that God's got a lot in store for President Trump and for us. We're going to see some justice, but then we're going to be going through a hard time. You know, I do not believe in a pre-tribulation rapture. God says that we're not destined for wrath. Okay, but he also says that, you know, we're going to feel that persecution. And in Revelation it says that the heads of those that were beheaded for their testimony of Jesus Christ stood and said, "When will we get justice?" Okay, but so we're going to have to go through the tribulation. There's going to be hard times ahead. But we will not have to go through what they call the bowls of wrath, the wrath of God when he literally shakes this planet. And the rich and the powerful and the nasty are going to be crawling into their deep underground bases, and they're going to be praying for the rocks to fall of them, to hide them from the wrath of the Lord. And there's no place you can't hide. So I'd like to thank everybody for watching The Truth is Viral. Don't forget to go to bobpowell.blogspot.com and hit that PayPal button if you can, because all this stuff costs money, folks, and I just don't have it. If I'm going to get out there and save souls and save lives and win souls for Jesus Christ, I'm going to have your help. Don't forget to follow us on, I'd say follow us on Twitter, but I can't. I'm not on Twitter anymore. I got kicked off for calling Kim Kardashian a skank. You can't tell the truth on Twitter. But you can follow me on Gab AI at TTiV or plus Bobby Powell on Google Plus. All those links are in the description below this video. So come on and join us and let's get some good stuff done. Okay, we're running out of time, but we've got a lot of work to do, and I need your help to do it. So thank you for watching. Until next time, my name is Bob Powell, and as always, God bless, Semper Fi, and hoorah.
Thank you for watching The Truth is Viral with your host, Bobby Powell. Make sure to follow The Apocalypse on Twitter at The Truth is Viral. Like The Truth is Viral on Facebook, and if you can, please remember to donate to the cause via PayPal at www.bobpowell.blogspot.com.
Back runner, your game is